Welcome to progressing in your career as a software developer. And right off the bat, let me just clarify something. This isn't just for software developers. This is honestly for anyone in technology. So if you're QA, product or project manager, you're DevOps, ops kind of guy, this will also help you as well. So I'm going to share with you guys, some really practical, really key steps that helped me in my career to make sure I was continuing to progress and moving forward. And also, this is not just about moving into management, although this will help you do that if you want to. Really what this is about is how to keep you moving in your desired career path. If that's senior level management, if that's executive leadership, if that's just you want to be an awesome dev, for the next 20 years, cool, perfect. This will help you make sure you continue to move forward and continue to grow in your career. So, as technologists, whether you're developer, QA, ops, product or project side of things, we're uniquely equipped to move forward in our careers. We touch base with different stakeholders across the company. We touch base with BAs and PMs and executive leadership and customers and clients and outside resources. And so you guys are equipped to make those steps because you have that exposure, you have that interaction with different user groups and different stakeholders. So you have a unique opportunity to move forward in your career, whether that be in technology or outside of technology. And also, at some point in time, and we hate to admit this, we become obsolete, right? Our technology, our skill set, eventually, is no longer needed. It happens. It's technology. So, but what you want to make sure you can do is, as technology grows, as innovation happens, that we're still relevant. We're still, able to move forward in our careers. So, I'm going to give you guys hopefully some key steps that'll help you do that. Just by show of hands, how many of you would say you're working your dream job right now? You're absolutely at the peak of your career working your dream job. Awesome, it's good to see. Quick story, about a few years ago, I was living near downtown Phoenix on 36th Street in McDowell. Not the best area, not the worst area, but I was leaving my apartment one morning and walking to my car to go to work, and this golf cart comes by. One of the maintenance guys drives up and says, "Hey, good morning, how's it going?" I'm like, "Good, how are you?" He's like, "Living the dream, man, living the dream." And I stopped and I thought, really, two things really. One is, if this is a dream, you woke up too soon. Go back to sleep and keep dreaming, right? There's more to life than just, picking up trash off the side of the road at my apartment complex. But at the same time, what I learned was that maybe that was his dream. Maybe he was actually living what he wanted to do. Maybe what he was doing was absolutely perfect for him, and that's okay. So again, it's not about management. It's not about executive leadership. It's not about becoming the next CTO, CIO, or dev manager or DevOps lead. It's really about what's right for you in your career path. And so hopefully today we can give you guys some tips to help you move in that direction. So about me a little bit here. So again, I'm Nate Brown. I am Director of Software Engineering at Appointment Plus. I've been there for about 7.5 years. We're a company of about 100 people. We deliver online appointment scheduling software for small to large businesses. You can see there my title, what I do. I have a team of about actually 30 people now between the US and India, a few which are here, one that left. So lots of different technology stacks that we work across. So I've been lucky to get to where I am today, to have the influence that I have with my team and the technologies that we use. My career path is a little interesting. So I actually started in technology as a freelance multimedia designer. What does that mean? I did audio design, video production, things like that in high school. Became a help desk intern in college, and that's really where I got my start into technology, seriously, and got a chance to work with different people, different groups of people, different tiers of leadership, working with the deans and presidents of the university, down to the students. So kind of got exposed to lots of different types of stakeholders within the business. And then shortly after I graduated, I came on full time at that same university as a workstation specialist. Basically, I was a glorified mouse runner. If you broke your mouse, you're missing a keyboard, you got a virus, or something happened, I was the guy running up to fix that machine for you. So went from there to being the senior application systems analyst at U of A College of Medicine, which is a fancy way of saying I was the web guy. I was the only developer there on the campus here in Phoenix, and built up a lot of their automated systems for internal processes and things like that. So, and then went from there to Appointment Plus to lead dev, and then dev manager, and now dev director. So you can see I have the steady progression in my career that, and what I've done actually with my career path is reverse engineered that to come up with this content for today. So I took a look back and said, okay, how did I get from help desk intern, mouse runner, to director of software engineering, leading a global team of software developers? And so what you're getting from me today isn't just a regurgitation of what I read in the book. It's not someone else's presentation that I hacked up and modified as my own. It's my own experience. And so hopefully, it works for you. It worked for me, and hopefully it works for you. And so you can see there what I say there on the screen there is, I've went from intern to director, from mousepads to multidisciplinary global team. And over the course of that, over the last 7 years, I guess 10 years, I've increased my salary 4 times. And so that's not to brag, it's just to say that it worked for me. And hopefully it works for you as well. But I understand there's other ways. There are other ways to progress in your career. There's other ways, there's other methodologies and theories, but hopefully this becomes a foundation for you. This becomes a framework you can use to help you in your career. Because like I said, it did work for me. And I imagine if I were to come back and do the same talk next year, it'll probably be a little bit different. I'll probably learn more, seen more, and done more that'll shape how I feel about progressing in your career. So we're going to talk about 7 key activities today that will help you move forward in your career. And if we have time at the end, I have a leadership model that I'm developing that we'll dive into if we have time at the end. But we'll definitely get to the seven key topics. And I'll send you guys, I'll send you on my website. You can see the slides later on if you want to take notes now. That's cool. If not, you can get the slides later as well. But we're going to talk about these 7 key activities. And if you guys have any questions at any point throughout the presentation, feel free to stop me and I can clarify or repeat something. I don't mind. We're going to talk about cataloging your successes, sort of building a portfolio that help demonstrate your career. We're going to talk about how do you calculate your impact, understanding the impact of what you've done, knowing your value and your worth and how those 2 things are different. We're going to talk about how you promote and advertise yourself. We love to do that as developers. I know we hate that. How to ask for feedback, the importance of continuing education, and then how to be proactive in your career path. So we'll touch on all these topics today. So the first one, cataloging your successes. You guys do cool stuff. Document it. It's as developers, as technologists, we tend to like to execute and move on. We don't always take time to stop and really catalog what we're doing or document what we've done, capture our successes, capture the work we've done. But it's crucial to your development in your career that you capture and have concrete, tangible examples of your successes. Just for example, when I went from workstation specialist to the analyst at U of A, one of the things that the guy who interviewed me told me was that I picked you because you had a portfolio that you can show me. He goes, you beat out guys that had 10, 15 years experience because you had a portfolio that showed your expertise, that showed your progress, that showed what you can do. He goes, so that's why I picked you over the guy that had 15 years of experience. So being able to produce a tangible catalog of your successes is really key in landing that next position or having that raise discussion, having that promotion discussion. If you can produce tangible, hardcore evidence of here's what I've done, here's how I've progressed, that's going to be key for you. But it's important that you tell your complete story as well as part of your successes. So this portfolio, whether it be online portfolio or just a collection of documents or whatever that looks like for you, it's important that you tell a complete story from start to finish. So you saw my slide there about my career path. I can show you examples of what I've done in each of those parts of my career. It's also a good tool for self-reflection. It's a good tool to say, okay, what have I done? What haven't I done? It's a good way to remind yourself of all the awesome things that you do, because you guys do awesome things. So to answer Alex's question about how do you capture things that are maybe internal that you can't necessarily share? So at U of A, I actually worked exclusively on internal applications. I couldn't take the code with me, but I could take screenshots of the applications. I could take snippets of proprietary things that I wrote and say, hey, here's an example of what I wrote without sharing, internal secrets or information that's not public. So It's code snippets, it's screenshots, it's even videos of the applications and working live in progress. It's getting feedback or recommendations from the people you've worked with. Recommendation letters are always an awesome thing to have. It's articles or documentation you've written about the applications you wrote. So all those things are parts of your catalog of successes, parts of your portfolio that you can be capturing and documenting along the way. Also includes certificates for continuing education. So if you're doing courses on Coursera or Lynda or whatever it may be, capturing those things and saying, here's what I've done over my career. If you look at my resume online, I have a list of all the courses and things I've done, from things from Pluralsight to Lynda to on-site trainings and things like that, documenting sort of every year what I've done to make sure I'm growing in my career. That last one down there is one that, oddly enough, we tend to struggle with as technologists, which is your updated resume. I can't tell you how many times I come across one that says, hey, I'm looking for a job, and I'm like, hey, I got an opportunity for you, send me a resume. Yeah, about that. I haven't updated in a while, so I'll get back to you. 2 weeks later, I still don't have a resume. You ought to be, as you move forward in your career, updating your resume constantly. That includes your LinkedIn profile, that includes your written resume. Have it updated, because going back and trying to remember what you did for the past 5 years is harder to do versus continue to update it as you go along. So your portfolio also includes your updated resume. The next thing we'll talk about is calculating your impact. And so there's really two parts to that. There's very real quantitative impact that you have. Then there's a more qualitative or subjective impact that you can have. And really the key here is to understand how, once you have that catalog of your successes, that portfolio you have, what did that translate to? What did that actually mean? What did that actually produce in terms of real numbers for your team, for your company, for your employer? So, like I mentioned, you want to use your portfolio to help calculate that quantitative impact. Ask questions like, how much money did the company save? So if you can't present the code or the application because it's internal, you can definitely talk about the fact that it saved the company X dollars by eliminating 5 positions, or we were able to save X amount of hours by automating this process. So those are very real stats that help tell your story about the impact you're having, from what you've done. You can look at how much revenue did it generate. If you're working in a services company, how many hours you build out for that and what that meant in terms of revenue for the company. That's very real impact and very real quantitative data that you can be collecting about your progress. Again, things like how many clients did you save, and it's also important to know your industry metrics. So, for example, we're a SaaS company. MRR or monthly recurring revenue is important for us. So if I can say that my feature that I delivered helped increase MRR by X percentage, or this new feature helped increase non-recurring revenue by X percentage, those are very real numbers to have. So understand what your industry metrics are and how what you do contributes to those things for your company, for your team, and just for your overall goals. Then there's more qualitative impact, and these are things that you really can't measure necessarily by numbers or by hard data, but are very, very much a key in moving you forward. So you want to be doing things like providing impact or providing relevant contributions during meetings. So a lot of my developers don't get a chance to sit in some of the meetings, but when they do, I expect that we're having some kind of conversation. We're contributing to the conversation. If it's informed opinions, we'll put it that way. Have an informed opinion in meetings. Those things don't go unnoticed. If you're a developer or a QA personnel, or you're a project manager and you're providing very real contributions to meetings and discussions, and you're sharing knowledge and you're sort of just having that kind of impact, that doesn't go unnoticed. So for me as a manager, I look for those things in my team. If I notice that for example, Jonathan over here is offering to help write a user story because he knows it needs to be done, it's not getting done, I notice those kind of things. If I notice that Alan is stepping up in a meeting and having a conversation about how we can improve XYZ process, I notice those things, and those are things I catalog in my mind to say, okay, when it comes time for that discussion of raise or promotion or more responsibility, I see those examples of how they've contributed. So those aren't very much measurable, but they definitely do have an impact. So make sure you're doing both of those things. The next thing is to know your value and to know your worth. So while these sound similar, they actually are two very different things. So I'm going to read you a couple definitions here. So value is the regard that something is held to deserve. It's the importance or usefulness of something. As a verb, it means to have a high opinion and consider something to be important and beneficial. So your value is the return on investment that your employer gets from their investment in you. It's your irreplaceables. So for example, I've been at Appointment Plus for 7 years, a little over 7 years now. I have a ton of tribal knowledge, as I call it, about how our application works, how our company works, what our goals are, the history of the company, the progress that we've seen, things that you can't just get coming in, fresh, as a new employee. So there's real value there that I hold. In just being there for 7 years, I've proven myself as being, a reliable employee. And those kind of things, that are important to know, because when it comes time to have a conversation with your manager about a raise or about a promotion, if you can say, hey, I've been here for X years and I know, this about the company and I've proven to be reliable in these ways, those are things that you can't get from an outside, new employee, for example. So you want to be able to have that provide that value for your employer and be able to understand what those things are. So when it comes time for that discussion, you can talk to those things intelligently. One thing that I always say is that your value as an employee is directly tied to the problems you solve for your employer. So as a developer, you're writing code, you're solving problems, you're fixing bugs. As a QA personnel, you're testing, you're finding defects, you're reporting issues. As a project manager, you're making sure things are happening, moving forward, moving along. You're solving problems. You want to make sure you continue to solve problems for your employer. That's real value right there. If you're not solving problems, you're not providing value. The other side of this is your worth, and I'm going to give you a definition for worth here. So worth is the level at which something or someone deserves to be valued or rated. It's something that's sufficiently good, important, or interesting to justify a specified action, deserving to be treated or regarded in the way specified. So if value is more subjective, more of a soft value, worth is those hard numbers. What should you be getting paid? What's the job market demand for your title right now? What skills are in demand for your title right now? Do you have those skills? Are you developing those skills? Are you becoming obsolete? Understanding what the market demands from your title right now is key. I went through this exercise actually not too long ago for one of my employees in terms of getting him a raise. It was let's look at the current market rates and find out what people are paying right now for your title, and find out if you're making what you should be making. And out of it came a decent raise. So you have to understand, the market, understand what's in demand. If you're not providing the skills or the knowledge that the market demands as the industry trends, you're going to quickly become obsolete and it'll be harder to move forward in your career. So I'll tell you one thing that recruiters are awesome people to know for this information. Recruiters can give you hands down the best information about what companies are looking for. What are they paying right now? What does your title say about you? What you should know, where you can go, what opportunities are out there. But you want to have the self-awareness to understand also that if you're not providing real value, if you're not cataloging your successes, if you're not having an impact, it doesn't matter what the market's paying. If you can't prove those things, it's going to be hard for you to demand that market rate or to demand that raise, demand that new title, demand a promotion if you can't do those previous two steps. The next thing you want to do is to make sure you're continuing to promote and advertise yourself. And this I know is difficult sometimes for us as technologists. We don't always like to talk about ourselves. We want to execute, do, move on, put our headphones on, put our heads down, work, and shut out the outside world. But as you move forward in your career, especially for those of you that want to go into management, this is going to be key for you. You got to be able to talk about yourself. You got to be able to intelligently speak to those previous 3 steps: your value, your worth, your impact, your portfolio. If you can't promote yourself in those and advertise yourself in those ways, it's going to be hard to find that next job, that next dream step in your career. You got to get comfortable talking about yourself. You got to be your own best cheerleader. And this third point here, remind your superiors of your achievements. That's super important, because me as a director, I have a ton of things going on. I have, at any given time, 8 to 10 projects going on between my 30 people. And I'm not always looking to see what what every employee is doing and how they're contributing to the team. I just can't. So you as a developer, as a QA, as a tester, as a project manager, you have to be comfortable saying, hey, boss, here, look what I did. Here's what I did. Here's how it helped. Be comfortable advertising yourself. Be comfortable, celebrating yourself. And it's okay to brag, by the way. You guys at this point have the right to brag. You guys have a skill set that's in demand. You guys have skills that are really shaping our world right now. So you have the right to brag. As technologists, that's your right. As long as you do it tactfully, in good taste, it's okay. So that can be in your one-on-ones with your leadership. If you have a one-on-one with your manager regularly, you want to use that time to make sure you're highlighting that, hey, in the last period I've done X, Y, Z, and here's a result of that. Or hey, by the way, did you notice that I wrote this? Have you seen that? You want to be confident in talking about yourself. And again, keep building up your portfolio so that you can use that as a tool to say, here's what I've done, and be okay talking about it. Be okay with bragging yourself a little bit. The last point there, build and maintain a consistent professional image. This is also one that I see that we as technologists struggle with sometimes, especially as software developers. You want to make sure you have a consistent professional image. So that's your LinkedIn profile, that's if you have a Stack Overflow profile, whatever you have, make sure that's consistent throughout. So why does that matter? Your digital self, your digital presence, your LinkedIn profile, your Twitter profile, your whatever it is you're doing can have an impact for you. That can be your promotion of yourself. So if you're a rock star on Stack Overflow answering 1 million questions a day, advertise that, publicize that. Make sure it's in your resume. It's linked to your profiles on social media, and professional social media especially. But maintain a consistent image. If you look at my website and you look at my LinkedIn, if you look at SlideShare, if you look at any number of channels on social media, you'll see that I have the same message, even the same look and feel. And that's key as you move forward, especially into management, is having that consistent professional image. Again, be comfortable talking about yourself. But to do that, what you really have to do is understand who you are. If you don't understand who you are, if you don't know your own values, your non-negotiables, your passion, it's hard to talk about yourself. So you have to ask yourself, what am I passionate about? What do I want to do? What's my path? What is that dream I have? What is that goal that I have? What are my non-negotiables? What are my values? Ask yourself those questions and be able to talk about those things. Because if you don't know those things, it's really hard to promote yourself in that way. And the second point there is to expose who you are. So for me, Desert Code Camp was my opportunity to say, okay, you know what? I have all this stuff in my head. I have all these ideas, all these values that I have. Now what? And the next step for me was to now get that out here for you guys, for example. So being able to expose who you are in terms of having, contributing to code camps, contributing to talks, even within your company, sharing is key in advertising yourself, especially if you can go into it with the portfolio and understanding of your impact. It becomes a lot easier. So, and again, be consistent. So here's a quote from Winston Churchill. It says, "Criticism may not be agreeable, but it is necessary. It fulfills the same function as pain in the human body. It calls attention to an unhealthy state of things." Which leads us to my next point, which is ask for feedback. Soliciting feedback from your peers, from your leadership, is one of the most important actions you can take in moving your career forward. Because like Winston Churchill said, that feedback, that critical feedback exposes weaknesses, exposes areas where maybe you're lacking, that you can now identify and grow or improve upon. So, getting feedback from the right people is really crucial to moving your career forward. But you got to have the self-awareness to accept that criticism and apply the proper steps to address those areas. You don't want to get butthurt over critical feedback. If someone gives you feedback that you don't agree with or that you don't feel is correct, try to find the truth in it. Try to find the nugget that you can take away and improve on. But you've got to have the self-awareness to be able to apply that feedback and like I said, not be upset and butthurt over it. Again, it'll help you identify your strengths and also identify your weaknesses as well, so you can enhance those areas and improve upon those things. And it's important that you don't just limit yourself to formal feedback channels. So one-on-ones and performance reviews, those are great channels for feedback. You always want to use those things to ask questions of your leadership to find out, how can I improve? What more can I do? But there's a lot more opportunity than just those formal channels. So I mentioned recruiters, so having lunch with a recruiter, having lunch with your peers or other leaders from other teams. I like to every now and then have coffee with someone I don't know. So if I get an email from a guy trying to sell me some software package I don't need, I may just have coffee just for the sake of having coffee, just to meet more people and get feedback and sort of keep that feedback loop open. So don't just limit yourself to those formal channels. Look at other opportunities for feedback. You have a community of technologists around you in different meetups and user groups and such within your company, within your team, leadership within your company, that outside of your own leaders. So look for other areas to get that feedback, because people are watching, especially within your company. If you're in a smaller company like I am, people see, people watch, people understand your impact, people understand where you're contributing or where you're not contributing, or how you can improve in those areas. So look for opportunities outside of just those former channels to get that feedback. It's also important to ask the right people. I always joked about how, I would never ask for marriage advice from a divorced person. You should never ask for career advice from someone who's not doing what you want to do. So if you see someone that's succeeding in going the path that you want to go through, ask for feedback from those people. You don't want to ask the guy that's failing in his job, hey, how do I get better at this? He's not going to be able to tell you that. You want to ask the right people for feedback, the right leaders, the right connections for that feedback. I like the way that Prince says it. Prince says, I like criticism from smart people. You don't want to ask the wrong person for the right feedback. So the next thing you want to do, I think this is one area that we as developers and technologists are really good at, is you want to keep learning. Stagnation leads to irrelevance. If you're not learning, if you're not growing, you're on the fast track to becoming irrelevant, obsolete, and really not going anywhere in your career. So it's important that you keep learning. And I always talk to my team about knowing your craft, both depth and breadth. So what does that mean? So depth in terms of if you're a developer, do you know how your platform handles memory management? Do you know how, if two functions do the same thing, which one's more efficient? How does your platform interact with the OS below it? Things like that. Understand the depth of your craft. And then the breadth. What are some of the foundational principles? What are the best practices? What are the trends and innovations in your craft? So if you're a developer, especially in today's JavaScript heavy arena, we're on Angular 5 now is coming out, I think pretty soon, if not already out. So if you keep on top of those trends and keep on top of those the innovations within your industry, and it can be a daunting task at times, for sure, but as much as possible, blogs, articles, different channels, keep up to date with what's happening in your industry, what's happening within your platform, what's happening in terms of innovation and trends. So you want to know both depth and breadth of your craft. But it's also important to learn more than technology. For those of you that want to get into management eventually, once you get into management, it's no longer just about your activities and your tasks and writing code or executing test cases. You now have to learn a little bit more than just your technical craft. There's leadership management skills. There's financial planning and financial management. There's communication skills, project management, time management. All those now come into play beyond just your technical skills. So if you can get a head start on learning some of these things, you're doing yourself a favor in terms of making your career path a lot easier. So get used to learning more than just your technology. Because like I said, as you move forward, especially into management, those of you that want to get into management, it's just endless the number of things you have to know, the number of channels you're involved in. One thing I like to do is, in our leadership meetings that we have on a weekly basis, is I'll absorb information from our marketing teams, our sales teams, get to know their metrics, get to know their strategies, their topics, so that as I move forward in my own career, I can talk to those things intelligently, at least on a surface level, right? So learn more than just your technology craft. Get into other areas of the business, and then share your knowledge. Learning really is about being a sponge. It's about absorbing and also dispensing knowledge. If you're able to share and teach someone else, It just teaches you even more so, right? So if you're able to explain it to a fifth grader or a 5-year-old, then you're probably able to understand it better yourself. So get used to sharing your knowledge. Get used to not hoarding to yourself the things that you know. One thing I always say is that lonely experts are not promotable. If you're the one person that knows how to do what you do, you're stuck there. If you're not helping the rest of your team learn what you know, if you're not helping the rest of your team grow, if you're not sharing the things that you've learned, you're really not promotable. Because once as you move forward in your career, especially up into management, leadership, sharing knowledge becomes a key activity for you. So get used to doing that now. Get used to helping your teammates grow, and those things don't go unnoticed. Your leaders see when you're helping your teammates excel, when you're helping your teammates understand and grow in a certain area. So get used to also sharing knowledge, not just absorbing it. Jack Welch says, a person's ability to learn and translate that learning into action rapidly is the ultimate competitive advantage. So again, learning and then acting on that knowledge, both in applying and sharing that knowledge, is for sure a competitive advantage. So the last step, and probably the most important step, is that you want to be able to seek advancement opportunities proactively. If you get nothing else from today's session, understand that your career is up to no one else but you. It's not up to your manager, your leaders, your peers. Your career is in your own hands. And if you're not passionate and enthusiastic and urgent about your career path and your career goals, no one else will be. It really is in your own hands. And so if those 3 words don't describe how you feel about your career, if you're not passionate, enthusiastic, and urgent, then you're doing it wrong. So let me give you some definitions there for some of those terms. So let's see here. So urgency, or let's go start with assertive. Assertiveness is characterized by boldness or confidence. It's self-assured and positive. Passion is an intense, driving, or overmastering feeling or conviction, a powerful or compelling emotion or feeling. Urgency is insistence or earnest solicitation. If those words don't describe how you feel about your career path, about your dreams, about reaching your goals, you're doing it wrong. It really is up to you to be proactive in seeking out opportunities to grow and to lead and to improve. Because like I mentioned earlier, we as your leaders don't always see and notice, your career goals and your career path. I have, like I mentioned, a team of 30 people that I can't always stay on top of in terms of what are you doing, towards moving your career forward. What more do you need? How can I help you more, grow in your career? I can't always do that for everyone. So it's ultimately up to you. It's in your own hands to do those things proactively. So what does that look like? It's volunteering to lead. So if you see a gap, you see a need, you see a need for leadership, step up and take the lead. You see a task going undone or a task going ignored, pick it up. Step up when no one else will. Be proactive in taking on more responsibility if the opportunity is there. Again, have an informed opinion. Be assertive in your thoughts, in your opinions, especially in terms of contributing to meetings, team meetings, company meetings, things like that. And again, let your direct manager know you want to do more. Use those one-on-ones and those reviews as a time to say, hey, I want to take on more responsibility. I want to have more to do. I want to progress in my career. What can I do? Give me feedback. How can I grow? What am I missing? Where are my weaknesses? Ask those questions and be proactive with your direct manager. Make meaningful connections. Again, as you grow in your career, people become way more important. Relationships become more and more important. It's not just about you. It's about relationships, about networking and connecting with people that can help you, move you forward in your career and grow in your career. I love for people to come to me and say, hey, I need a job doing X, Y, and Z. Do you guys have any openings? If I have an opening there, I'm on it. I'll help bring you in, whether I know you or not. So those connections and that networking is key in moving your career forward, because while it's your responsibility, you can't always do it alone. You do need help. You do need those connections. You do need to know people that can put you in the right arenas, in front of the right people, get your resume in the right places, or give you those tips and tricks to have that discussion for a raise, to get that promotion. So make those meaningful connections. So Dennis Waitley says, success is almost totally dependent upon drive and persistence. The extra energy required to make another effort or try another approach is a secret of winning. So again, your career, your career path, your goals, it's on you. You got to be proactive. You got to be passionate about what you're doing and seeking those opportunities to advance. So to summarize, we talked about cataloging your successes, keep an updated portfolio of your achievements, calculate your impact, understand the effects of what you have done. So once you see that portfolio, understand what that meant in terms of real metrics and real numbers. Know your value and your worth. Understand the leverage you have. That your value within your current employer is leverage when it comes time for discussions about a raise, a promotion, or even in terms of finding a new position. Promote and advertise yourself. Don't be afraid to brag, but make sure you're portraying a consistent image across all your channels. Ask for feedback. Find out where you can improve. Keep learning. Don't become stagnant, and diversify your knowledge. Learn more than just your technical craft. Learn about business in general. And lastly, be proactive, because it really is up to you.